Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and greetings of peace, and welcome to all of you joining us virtually from across the country today. I am thrilled that you made time in your busy schedules to join us today, and on behalf of the entire team, I thank you for your presence. My name is Maha Elgenaidi, and I'm the founder of Islamic Networks Group, which is also commonly known as ING. This Ramadan marks ING's 29th year anniversary of serving the nation. Alhamdulillah, all praises due to God. 29 years ago, believe it or not, I was in a donated office in Saratoga, California, to start what I thought was a temporary volunteering project. Since then, the organization has grown and developed to become what it is today. Peace-building organization with affiliates around the country that provide educational and engagement opportunities that foster understanding of Muslims and other misunderstood groups to promote harmony among all people. That's a mouthful, but that's our mission statement. As many of you know my story, I will keep it very brief. I was raised in a secular Muslim family and held stereotypes about Islam and Muslims. And I only became familiar with the Quran after reading it for the first time when I was 29 years old. This was followed by my reading of the Seerah, or Life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as well as the foundational work of Imam Ghazali's Ihya Ulumuddin, or Revivification of the Faith, which is it's a classic part of Islamic literature. Inspired by my readings and a better understanding of Islam, and through Muslim co-workers at the office where I worked, I eventually became involved in the Bay Area Muslim American communities. And my readings inspired me to do two things that I felt were lacking at the time. This was 29 years ago. Firstly, to teach about Islam, and secondly, to promote engagement between Muslims and Americans of other faiths. And these two things form the basis of what ING does today through its various programs. We teach about Muslims and their faith in a number of ways that either supplement what is currently being taught in the institutions we work with, or as a means of providing greater understanding about this community. One of the main areas where we've taught about Muslims and their faith for almost 3 decades is in middle and high schools in the context of world history or social studies. Our program there is called the Islamic Speakers Bureau, and there we train and certify Muslim American speakers to present on topics relating to Islam face-to-face in the classroom with interactive presentations. And in this area, we've spoken to tens of thousands of classrooms across the country. When we do this, we're very careful to abide by separation of church and state by following First Amendment Center guidelines in teaching about a people, Muslims in this case, and not preaching religion. Let's take a look at the impact of these presentations in this short 3-minute video.
It was time to teach the unit on Islam, and I wanted a representative that was going to portray this religion accurately.
Given ING's reputation, 9th grade teacher Sarah Erickson's choice was simple: call ING. Erickson teaches U.S. and world history at Presentation High School in San Jose, California. That includes teaching about world religions, including Islam, as part of middle and high school education in all 50 states. So for the past 18 years,
if you guys represented the world, 50 of you would be Muslim.
ING has been invited into schools across the country to teach about Islam in social studies classes. Based on years of experience, ING has developed groundbreaking curriculum that goes beyond a basic introduction of Islam, focusing on Muslim traditions and practices and how those relate to Judaism and Christianity. And
if you have any questions, raise your hand. Okay, go ahead.
Allowing students a chance to ask questions about daily Muslim life, which research shows is a key component in changing negative stereotyping of Islam.
Polls are telling us that that's one of the most effective ways to change perceptions is for them to know something, to have knowledge of Islam, and in the process to know a Muslim.
Because ING knows that their presentation may be the first time a student will interact with a Muslim, ING understands that first-hand accounts of Islam and personal stories of Muslims are needed in creating a better understanding of American Muslims.
They have stories that they can share, significant stories that have a lot of meaning for them. I can't share that, but it's important and educational nonetheless.
And ING has been doing so with remarkable success. 47% of ING's presentations are to students nationwide. ING research shows that just after one presentation, 60% of students say their understanding of Islam has improved. 65% now believe American Muslims contribute to the well-being of the United States. Almost 60% think Muslims to be as American as they are. And 75% now accept Islam as a peaceful religion, just like other religions. Significant numbers, considering the many stereotypes that many students have.
Kids are very analytical, and they're exposed to the media, they're exposed to film, and they actually have, some of them have pretty serious stereotypes particularly about this community. And we know that because they ask those questions in the classroom.
At Dartmouth Middle School in San Jose, California, teachers have been using ING's presentations for the past 15 years. ING's success at schools like Dartmouth is because teachers know ING's content is relevant and age-appropriate and educational without preaching.
Does anybody know why there's a picture of the dome of the rock?
Teachers add another benefit is ING's accredited speakers can teach about issues that students can't learn from a textbook.
It's the face of a Muslim person that coming in and talking about something that they're passionate about. For some of the kids, this morning it was a gentleman, and then in the afternoon we had an older woman, and then we had a younger woman. And some people wear hijab and some don't, and it's great for them to see that everybody can be Muslim.
Nowhere else can students gain this kind of insight into Islam and begin to change their perceptions of Muslims without the work of ING.
Viewed is what ING does across the country, which represents about 40% of our work. I know the video says 47%. The video that you just watched is a few years old. Today, it's about 40% of our work is in this space. 60% is with other audiences that have really grown over the last few years. About 7 years ago, through the recommendation of one of our donors, we started to train Muslim teens ages 11 to 18 to do this work inside their schools. And so now we apply the same methodology and programming by empowering Muslim teens in their identity first and foremost, and then enabling them by training and providing them with the presentations to do the same work that adult speakers do in the Islamic Speakers Bureau. Our Muslim teen speakers now number over 100 and are part of the program, part of a program we call INGYouth. Let's take a look at one such presentation by a Muslim teen speaking on women in Islam. And I want you to listen to the nuance the speaker employs in addressing the issue. This video is about 2 minutes long.
So in reality, Muslim women are not just, don't fit into one stereotype. They lead really different lives, but it's not just because of their religion. There are a lot of different factors that are involved. So some countries offer more opportunities for women than others, so this is a huge part. So where you were born, then depending on the area that you're in, you're going to get more opportunities if you're a woman. In some countries, there are less just because they're women, not necessarily because of the religion in that country. Their status is also affected by like the political state of the country and their economic position within the social hierarchy. So if they were born to a wealthy family, then they're more likely to get an education than a girl who is born to a really lower caste family, simply because they don't have access to that sort of an education. So women are impacted by their profession that they're in. Some like different countries, there aren't that as many job openings for women in certain professions, so that is definitely a big factor in what a woman ends up as. And so this part gets a bit confusing. So there are a lot of different religious interpretations. So in some areas, one religious interpretation may be widely held, and that will affect a woman's status in society, and also the cultural traditions in that area. So that's not to be confused with the religious interpretations in that area. But if there is a tradition in that culture of women in general being treated a certain way, then it'll be different from a country with different traditions and cultures regarding women.
The level of nuance that you just heard is very important when educating about Muslims here and around the world. And what you just heard was from a 13-year-old teen. Imagine the power of expanding this work with Muslim students all across the country, which is what we plan and hope to do. We also teach about Islam and Muslims in the context of interreligious pluralism through our Interfaith Speakers Bureau program, which organizes panels of the 5 major world religions. So in this case, our Muslim speakers go out with Jewish, Christian, Hindu, and Buddhist speakers to address about a dozen different topics in high schools, universities, and other venues. And the reason we started doing interreligious work is because we found that the more Americans understand the complexities of their own religion, the more that they're able to understand that Muslims are not monolithic, but rather as diverse and as complex as members of other religious groups. Take a listen at how one teacher describes ING's impact in the Interfaith Speakers Bureau program. The video here is about 2 minutes long.
I've been working with ING ever since I started at Bellarmine, so it's been about 9 years. Mostly I use the interfaith panel. Being a world religions teacher, that tends to fit my curriculum. The interfaith panel is a representation of 5 faiths, and so they will always have an Islamic speaker, but then there can be any choice between Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, and Jewish person. So you can kind of pick and choose from amongst those 5 panelists, and I've always taken all 5. Students have actually just approached me both immediately after the panel as well as a week or 2 after the panel, to really say like it absolutely affected them and how they see religion. Most recently, I had a student confide that a lot of his household, his parents really thought the Islamic world was a violent world. And as a result of the panel, we're seeing a totally different face of Islam. I've had students who come back explicitly saying this was an incredible opportunity. I feel really empowered in my faith. I feel really much more convicted in who I am as a faithful person. And I think that's unique. There is definitely the sense that I think students see without naming it. They see the universal application of different members of different faiths coming together and trying to say like, here's the thing about my faith, and it's similar to this faith. We're different, but in this way we have similarities, and we can talk about that, and we can see the nuances of that. And when students see that, they're not necessarily like naming it, oh, that's universalism, but what they are seeing is the opportunity for engaging with other people creates an enriched life, creates an enriched tradition.
The teacher you just heard has invited us into his classroom annually for the last 15 years. Another way we fulfill our mission to counter bigotry is by teaching about Islamophobia and its negative impact on Muslim Americans in multiple ways. Watching the Black Lives Matter protests that started under the Obama administration, we came to the realization that anti-Muslim bigotry is rooted in the bigotry towards other marginalized groups, particularly African Americans, and that in order to counter bigotry against Muslim Americans, we actually need to address and counter bigotry against and alongside other marginalized groups. So on these panels, Muslims go out with representatives of the African American, Hispanic, Asian, Indigenous, and Jewish communities, where we address the history of bigotry, how it manifests itself in different communities, and how to counter it together as Americans. Here's a very small example of our INGYouth speakers talking about the impact of one such panel that they held. This video is only about a minute long, but it'll give you a taste of the impact of these panels.
I think it's really, really important to have these conversations and to really acknowledge that the things that we experience every day are rooted in history. And in order to dismantle the systems of oppression that we're all being impacted by, we have to learn about this history and have those difficult conversations. And I also it was very empowering to be on a diverse panel of really amazing young women and like feeding off of their energy and their experiences and what they were saying. And in the end, I just feel very empowered.
I think it's important to talk about these things because we just kind of sweep it under the rug until something big and bad happens. And at that point, it feels like it's too late.
This was amazing. I've never done this. So it felt really good to be like, oh, I need to add this, I need to add that. It felt like a huge weight was lifted off of me because people were actually paying attention and taking it all in. And it felt good to teach them something that I've been learned and to tell them there's something you can do to change the system.
And last but not least, we educate about Muslim Americans in public institutions that serve our communities with the goal of preventing misunderstandings and enhancing interaction between the service provider and community members. Some of these institutions that we work with include healthcare, school district offices, corporations, and law enforcement. Let's take a look at the impact of ING in the area of police training. This video you're about to watch is about 3 minutes long.
After participating in just one of ING's law enforcement training workshops, John Cavallaro, the Deputy Chief of Police of San Jose, California, says it immediately changed his perception of his local Muslim community.
One of the things that really struck me was jihad. Jihad does not mean holy war like we've been so programmed to believe, but it means striving. And I think what I got out of that is striving to be the best person you can be.
And that's probably one of the best examples of how ING's work is having a real impact with local police. For the past 15 years, ING has been working with police departments across the country, providing them with basic tools for interacting and protecting a community that officers are still getting to know, American Muslims.
If that officer or deputy doesn't have the tools to do that, then we get nowhere. And that's where ING, with their outreach programs, especially with their training programs, they bring that understanding for that. They bring some of the basic tools for that officer in the street.
And those basic tools have been a tremendous benefit to his department, says John Hirokawa. Hirokawa is the undersheriff at the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Department in California. ING's various law enforcement trainings are designed to introduce police departments to the American Muslim community. They address demographics, stereotypes and their consequences, and the basic Muslim beliefs and practices. The seminars cover the diversity of the American Muslim community, as well as provide tips and suggestions that help police officers interact more effectively and build long-term relationships with the community.
It's extremely important to do that work with law enforcement more than any other group, I feel, because they are the people that are there to enforce the laws.
The biggest impact ING has had is in helping change the way police departments do their job.
How a group like ING educates us, enhances our capabilities of serving that community in regards to how they do their interviews, how they conduct themselves in their homes. Those are huge things. So there aren't these preconceived ideas when they go to that call and then treat people based on what they've learned on the TV.
This is supported by impact studies of ING's cultural diversity seminars in law enforcement. The results show 93% of attendees say they have a clearer understanding of Muslims and their faith after one ING seminar. 98% say that the seminars enhance their cultural competency skills to better interact with the American Muslim community. And it's not just the change in attitudes towards Islam and Muslims where ING has had its success. ING programs are successful because of its content, clarity, and certification. First, ING presentations are post-certified. That means ING's presentations are first reviewed and then certified by a state agency. That's to make sure ING meets the peace officer standards and training curriculum, which is set by the state.
Wonderful. So the law enforcement training that was the subject of the video that you just saw is one of our most requested of culture diversity trainings, but so is our trainings for healthcare and educators. And through these diverse programs, ING's presentations and lessons now reach more than 2 million people a year directly or online, as well as through our affiliates around the country who replicate ING's model in their communities. Hopefully, the sampling of our testimonials from clients gives you a flavor of the work and impact that ING does to advance our mission of creating deeper understanding of Muslims and other misunderstood racial, ethnic, and faith-based communities in the United States and beyond. And now it is my privilege to introduce you to new ING team members who will help take us to the next level of growth that will enable us to serve an even broader swath of our communities. Let me begin with Melissa Levinson, who is our programs associate.
It's great to be here.
Thank you so much, Melissa, for joining. Can you tell our audience a little about yourself?
Absolutely. So as Maha said, my name is Melissa, and as ING's programs associate, I work with our incredible interfaith and intercultural speakers to expand the reach of ING's educational work in schools, corporations, and other institutions. I joined ING in August of 2020 as an educational content developer, and I had the privilege of writing 14 ethnic studies lesson plans on individual and systemic racism, part of which were published by the California Department of Education. Before joining ING, I graduated with a master's degree in Arab Studies from Georgetown University, where I focused on researching and reforming the representations of Muslims in the American education system. And I'm honored to continue this work and to be here to support ING's important work in promoting religious and cultural understanding.
Thank you so much, Melissa, for joining us. The lesson plans, I wanted to tell you that the lesson plans that you created, in fact, were downloaded immediately by educators around the country, and they were featured in a teacher news channel as well. So it had broad reach. The next person I want to introduce is Dalia Al-Toumi, who is our development manager, a position that is new to the organization.
Thank you, Maha.
Thank you, Dalia, for joining. Can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Yes, sure. First of all, it's a pleasure to be part of this transformative organization. Hello, my name is Dalia Al-Toumi, and for the past 2 decades, I've been fortunate to have a career focused on combating social injustice and promoting civil rights. As a community advocate and organizer, I've worked with Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi to address key members of Congress and was featured on several Bay Area and national media programs for my role as a community mobilizer. These experiences will serve me well at ING as I build the organization's first development department that will steward and expand our donor and support database. In my new position, I also plan to build and strengthen relationships within the Muslim community and extend allyship across racial, ethnic, cultural, and faith-based groups. I'm truly honored to join the ING family and to work with you all to build peace through education and engagement. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dalia. Dalia has only been with us for about a month. And Dalia, I wanted you to know, as I'm sure that, Tabassum would agree and others, that you've added so much value already to the organization and the corporate networks that you've exposed ING to. So thank you. And we look forward to working with you. Next up is Dr. Zachary Markwith, who is our education manager.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, Zach, for joining. Please tell our audience a little about yourself.
Greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum. I have a PhD in Islamic Studies, a master's degree in comparative religious studies, and have taught courses and published in both fields. I've also worked in the nonprofit sector in various positions, including as the head of a Muslim nonprofit. I'm passionate about making education about Islam and Muslims more accessible through courses, literature, media, interfaith gatherings, and the face-to-face interactions that ING excels at. I'm excited to learn from the inspiring people and resources that ING has gathered and contribute to their ongoing efforts to build bridges and dispel stereotypes. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Zach. We look forward to working with you and to the many contributions that you'll be making to our content development work that we do. And last but not least is my successor, Tabassum Haleem, our new CEO, who joined ING in January of this year. But before I introduce her, one quick note to all of our guests here today, that in the interest of wanting to make this event short, out of respect for your busy schedules, we've created two other videos of ING's staff, one with me and Tabassum, where I ask her to tell me more about her background and motivation for joining ING, and another one with the full staff team and conversation with me and each other. And you can view both at our event page and at your convenience. For now, I wanted to thank Melissa, Delia, and Zach for joining. And our audiences will be seeing more of you online. So thank you. It is now my great pleasure to introduce ING's new CEO and my successor, Tabassum Haleem.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Maha.
Thank you so much for joining, Tabassum. So for everyone's information, I've known Tabassum for 20 years. She was very successful in starting and running ING's Chicago affiliate for 8 years, one of the best organized affiliates, I want to add. She also led the Council of Islamic Organizations of Greater Chicago, which serves 500,000 Muslim Americans in the Greater Chicago area, and she ran that for 2 years. Both I consider to be pioneering extraordinary efforts, especially for female leadership in the developing Muslim American community. Tabassum started her career working in the for-profit corporate world, as I did. She did it for more than a decade, first employed at the very prestigious Arthur Andersen firm. Then she moved to Paramount and BMW. She then founded and ran her own private accounting and auditing consulting firm for 7 years, and only entered the nonprofit space when she started an ING affiliate in Chicago in 2001. Outside of Tabassum's professional work, she also holds several community leadership positions in Chicago, including advisory committee member of the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. She's a licensed CPA and has a master's degree from the University of Chicago in public policy and Middle Eastern studies. And as if all of this weren't enough, she also speaks 5 languages, including Urdu, Arabic, and Spanish. So welcome, Tabassum. It is a pleasure to know you and an honor to work with you. And Tabassum, as you know, as you may know, I played a lot of team sports in my youth, including softball, lacrosse, and ran track, which was my favorite of the 3. And so in the spirit of running track, I now pass the baton to you, my friend. I'll be here supporting you, having your back, cheering you on, and helping you to be the successful person you are. Tabassum, you have the stage.
Thank you so much, Maha, for that kind introduction and for your 29 years of tireless efforts serving our community. I will briefly describe 3 major goals that are essential in taking ING to the next level and expanding our work. The first priority in expanding our programs is to enhance our operations and improve our efficiencies. We will do this by building scaffolding that will help us expand with confidence. This includes transitioning to Salesforce data management, restructuring our board, upgrading our HR systems, and achieving re-accreditation by organizations such as the Better Business Bureau, which has certified ING for many years. The second is our goal of putting all our diversity trainings virtually in the form of professionally accredited online classes as a motivation for users from various professions to access these resources. As a result of the pandemic, ING has transitioned our presentations and panels online, which greatly expanded our reach across the country, while also maintaining some in-person events when possible at the local level in a new hybrid model. To meet the demand for our many programs, we have broadened our speaker pool across the country by also incorporating affiliate speakers and others, and we plan to continue increasing our speaker base to fulfill the need. We also plan to increase marketing for all our programs and again, make them all available online, which will further expand our reach and impact. And lastly, but key to the success of all our programs is the goal of releasing a new website that is not only more user-friendly, but also multilingual for accessibility by people outside of the US, since our content is now being downloaded in Europe, Australia, Canada, Asia, and Africa. Now that you have met the team and heard about our ambitious new goals in the coming months, let's talk about how we make all of this possible. The answer, of course, is through your support. We could not have achieved all that we have done in the past 3 decades without the support of the community. The community that is, in fact, the inspiration for our work. We can now show your support in several ways by credit card, PayPal, Zelle, check, or stocks. To specifically donate to the ING endowment, which increases your donation exponentially, please email Maha Elgenaidi at mail@ing.org. And also check your chat screen for details. We speak in schools to ensure that our children and your children feel secure and included. We train healthcare providers to make them aware of the specific needs of their Muslim patients. We engage with other faith-based and ethnic communities to build bridges of understanding and to promote peace in our society and country. We do this work so that each one of you can live a life that is more harmonious and secure. And now we need your continued support to help us further expand this critical work of building peace in our communities. We ask you to play your part in building peace, understanding, and connection with whatever amount you feel inspired to give, knowing that every dollar you invest will make a difference in the life of a child, a teenager, a woman who wears hijab, and so many other marginalized people. You may donate easily by credit card, PayPal, Zelle, check, or stocks. Again, to specifically donate to the ING endowment, please go ahead and email Maha Elgenaidi at mail@ing.org. And again, please check your chat screen for details. And lastly, we hope that all of you will continue to support ING by informing others about our work, sharing our resources with your teachers, friends, and coworkers, and keeping ING in your duas during these last few holy days and nights of Ramadan. Thank you so much for joining us today and wishing all those celebrating an early Eid Mubarak.